Okay, we live.
Got
Okay,
it.
so
Okay, yes, we are. We're live.
Check it out. This is so fancy.
I know.
I know it.
I didn't even know this was possible.
No, me either.
Yeah, so we are live. Okay, ladies, I want to welcome you guys to our Wednesday night. I don't even know what we call this. We don't have a name.
Wednesday women.
Night. Yeah.
No, we have a name. We see how prepared we are. Do you guys love it, right? Already? Hold on. I'm getting our name. Don't you worry.
Oh, okay.
But ladies,
get her on top of
it. Look, we are here with the Unqualified Therapists.
Yes. Hello.
We are doing this amazing collaboration because we wanted to be able to connect with you to give you some not advice, but give you the
tools
opportunity to, there you go, to talk about things that we know is important to you or you feel like is important to you. Amy and Sarah, I've been listening to their podcast ever since I met them, and they are funny. They have great stories. And I believe that this collaboration will, not only make it fun for us, because that's what it's about when you walk in this healing journey and this growth journey, right? It's about being able to have fun in the process, but also being able to heal and grow. So what we're going to try in the interim, ladies, is we are going to see if you have any questions or if you want to ask us some questions. Now I'm going to send you the invite link so that you can come on, because I can't read and talk at the same time. I don't know. So
okay.
So if you have a question or you want to participate in a conversation where, you want to talk about some things, then we want to be able to do that as well. So
I have the live chat up too, so I'm looking as well.
Oh, okay,
so it's not all on you.
Okay, cool. So
I also have our title, and if anybody wants to know what we are.
So we want to introduce you first. So we want to go ahead and
I was going to introduce our series first. It's called
ahead.
Real Talk, Safe and Uncensored with the Unqualified Therapists, the series. There it is. I mean, fancy. Fancy.
I don't know why I felt like that deserved a shimmy. A shimmy.
I gave it a shimmy too. I don't know why, because I think I saw you do it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Ladies, I'm gonna put this link in our chat on Facebook. And again, this is an open forum, and we do have some men too. So guys,
yes, hello.
If you have, any questions or anything, and if you're cute and single, make sure you can come on and just let us know that you're growing and healing, because we love that. And maybe, we can pop something off. So the first thing.
Oh my God. I love you, Gloria. I love you so much.
So the first thing is, I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves and just give us a little bit of background to our audience.
Let's go alphabetically. Go.
Oh man, I'll go first. It's fine. I can do that. I'm Amy. I am one half of the Unqualified Therapists. We have been on the air for about 1.5 years now with our podcast. Sarah and I coined ourselves trauma queens, and we say that in the funniest, most serious way possible, if that's a thing. Yeah. We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot of therapy. We've been through a lot of life altering events. And we are here to stop the stigma, to open up doors and open up the pathways of talking about mental health and mental illness in a way that is normalizing it so that everyone feels like they are not alone. And so that's about us. I guess I should have said more about me. I am, let's see, I'll just tell you how old I am. How about that? I am a proud 43-year-old. I love my 40s. It is my favorite decade for sure. It is the big, I don't give a, can we swear on here?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. This is the big, I don't give a fuck decade. And I love it so much, where you just don't, and you live authentically. I have 2 children. I have a son, Avery, he's 5. I have a daughter, Lily, she's 12. I am a widow. I had a husband, Scott, for 17 years who had bipolar disorder. And that's a whole story that you can check out on the podcast that I share. Currently, though, I do have a boyfriend and he is wonderful. So we call that chapter 2 in the widow world. So, lots of self-healing prior to that. And, I'm all about just learning and growing and being real. So Sarah and I are no bullshit.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. So I'm Sarah, and I am the other half of the Unqualified Therapists, and we do all the things Amy said. But me personally, I am just turned 40. I say just in August of last year. So, we're halfway through it. And so far, also my favorite decade. It's something about that. I don't know if there's like a realization and, something kind of clicks and you're like, yeah, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like,
That's right.
I need to live for myself and not all these other people. So it's been phenomenal. I'm loving that. I also have 2 children. I have a daughter, Willow, who is 9, and a son, Vian, who is 12. And yeah, they're pretty awesome and awful. And I love being a mom and hate it and all these
All at
things
once.
at once. I have gone through some shit, like Amy said, I've gone through a lot of loss. I lost my mom, my dad, and my brother. My whole little nuclear family. I do have 2 sisters, but I also went through breast cancer. I'm a survivor. I'm going to start singing again. And yeah, so just, been through it and done a lot of self-healing, still on that self-healing journey, still have days that are shit. But, we kind of muddle through and survive it. And we talk about this a lot. It's sort of like, right now I'm in a really great place. So it's like, I think back, I'm like, how was I even in that spot? Like 2 weeks ago
or yesterday.
or yesterday. Yeah, exactly. So like, it's one of those up and down journeys. Healing is not linear.
What I love
Amen.
about you guys is the fact that, 1, that you do keep it real, but then 2, it's like you make it seem like the healing journey is fun and you give it balance, right? Because and we're going to talk about it, about therapy and all these things that are available, but the stigma around that, right, is like, oh, I'm going to tell all my problems to this person and I'm going to be sad and I'm going to be crying, and it's like, yeah, it'll be that sometimes, right? But it doesn't have to be that all the time, right?
Yeah,
You need
right.
something where you are enjoying your life while you're healing. You are laughing while you're growing, right?
Yes.
And I think that's what your platform does. It gives you the opportunity to understand and know that while we're growing, it is hard. There are good and bad days, but guess what? We still go through it. We still sticking with it, because you know what? We already know what the other life was like.
Yes.
Right? We
Yeah.
already know what the other life was like. So now we're going to try to stick with this and see if this works. Right? Because I know what those stories are. And I've been through enough shit to know and understand that when you're by yourself and you have a house full of people, but you still feel like you're alone, right? When you feel like you just can't take it no more, what happens? Sometimes that therapist can't do it for you, but that friend can, right?
Mm-hmm.
That confidant can, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I love you guys' relationships, because you guys have been friends and confidants to each other, which is like the ultimate thing that a woman looks for, right? You have a best friend, but also you're growing together.
That's right.
Yes. We talk a lot about that, about how hard it is as an adult. There's just as a grown adult with like other responsibilities and a family and this and that, having friendships is so different than like your college friendships or high school friendships, and how complicated it is. And really for me, like the biggest rule is like, I just am not about fake, and I'm not about dishonesty, and that I just don't have time for that anymore. And I
Mhm.
think that's where Sarah and I came together. We were like, oh, you know what? We're going to get rid of those people, because it's just, there's no room for that in your life. And it's not that we're dumping on each other, or, spilling our guts to one another all the time. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about like how to productively share, things that are heavy with someone else.
Ooh,
And there's
great.
like, there's a way to do it that's not so destructive or burdening on someone, I guess. Right, Sarah?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it takes both sides to understand how to do that for that to happen properly. And that's where we're learning how to do that. And in the process of learning how to do that, we're hoping to share that with everybody so that these relationships can grow and change and get better. And, my marriage has grown and changed and gotten better just from learning these things and knowing how to talk to people just a little bit differently. It was funny. We were talking earlier before we got on here, and Amy and I were, and I was like, I feel like I'm getting better at not saying things so bluntly. And then I was like, I don't know from the look on your face if I'm right or if I'm delusional
Oh
by saying that
God.
I'm getting better. I don't know.
Is she? Is she getting better?
Oh,
Sort
she's
of.
not answering.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. So we're sort of, and I appreciate the effort. We both have an edge to us that we're trying to soften because the world has done us dirty.
Yeah.
And so we have a very like, come at me, bitch, kind of thing, like real quick,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And we're really trying to soften that and ease into it, especially with people who you love and trust, right? And those are
Right.
sometimes the people that get the brunt of your shit, and trying not to put your best foot forward for everyone but those people is important too. And that's a lesson that I learn all the time that I'm always thinking about. So, I think that there's definitely growth for both of us to continue on that journey.
yeah. Because sometimes I'll be like halfway through word vomiting, and then I'm like, I didn't even do what we've been talking about doing and make sure that she's in a good place for the evening. And so I have to stop and I'll be like, I'm really sorry. I just like completely unloaded. Like, are you okay to listen to this right now?
And
Because
sometimes when you're having it, when you're in it too, like, and it really depends. And this is why you want to have open and honest communication with your friends, is that sometimes when I'm in deep depression, I also suffer from depression and generalized anxiety disorder. So that's up and down all the time. I want to hear your shit because it's helping me come just to another place of not thinking about myself. And then there's other times where like I'm so sad and I just can't hear anything else. So it really depends. And that's why we talk about saying and just asking questions. We were saying earlier today before we got on how important it is to ask questions, ask
Right.
questions, ask questions, ask questions, and
right.
don't assume anything.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we were talking before we got on here, the three of us, in saying like therapy is really hard to come by right now.
It
Therapists are
is.
really hard to find right now. So people are relying a lot on their relationships, but it's a tricky thing because we have to be able to trust one another. We have to know how to speak to one another. And, so we're trying to help do that.
We mess
Amy and
up
we mess
too,
up a lot.
a lot.
Yeah,
We mess
like
up a lot.
I guess for me, right now, um, I do have like a lot of friends that, I'm that person that came from corporate America and now I'm doing this. So now that they know that you're doing this, they believe they could call all the time and just be like, well, let me tell you what happened to me. And, so I become your sage, right? Like, and you telling me all these things. And the other way around, it's like, okay, well, who do you call? Because this person is already going through something. This person is always going through something. And if you're the person that everybody's coming to, then who do you unleash to?
Mhm.
Right.
Right. And you're right. I used to have a therapist who I would, talk to, and I would just unleash everything on her to the point where I was going to her house, y'all. I was like, I need to come over. I was bringing food.
She's like, boundaries, boundaries.
To be honest with you, she blocked me. I can't call. I promise you, she blocked me.
Oh,
I can't call her no more. I tried. She don't pick up the phone. And I was like, oh, is this what stalking is?
Oh my gosh.
Walking 101.
Because she was like, good luck to you. You're okay. And I'm like, I'm not okay. And so I called and it's like, hello, this is such and such. I said, this bitch blocked me. Like, for real. Like, it's over.
Oops. Hey, lessons learned. Lessons learned.
Look, but I was like, I thought you taught me another way to actually, have boundaries with people, not just cut them off. So I'm up there like, well, what did I do? Like,
If she never came and was like, hey,
no,
we can't see each other. Like, it was just like a hard cut.
But then I understood because I'm like, oh, okay, now I guess I was a little draining. Okay.
So how many different therapists have you had like in your lifetime?
Two, because
okay, so you're early in your journey here, Gloria.
Yeah. So I was
been through 18
for real. Well, see, I was forced with one because I had got a DUI, so I had to go to the therapy thing or whatever. And then the other one was voluntarily, and then that's when I was just like, well, I need to talk to you or whatever. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, this girl is I don't know, but what I found is that what she was trying to teach me is that you can't come and drain me with all of your issues because I'm still human, right?
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that you have allowed me to, be in that space with you. But at the same time, I got to be able to form my boundaries because what you've given me is a lot of heavy stuff.
Yeah.
That can potentially mess up my way of thinking in helping you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I didn't get that until later, until I had to experience that with my friends, where it's like, okay, y'all, I can't take on all of your stuff because I am on my journey too. So if there's a risk that I need to take, if there's, something I need to do for myself, I don't want to go ahead and think about what I told you. You know what I'm saying? Or think about what you did and think that's a good idea. And then now I'm not following the practices that I learned.
Right.
So that is a really great way to like kind of lead into how we start the conversations with one another. And it's just asking the question. This is how we started off when I don't forget and just word vomit everything. But when I actually remember to start it this way, we start off by just saying to one another, like, I need to talk about some stuff. Are you okay to listen right now? Like, is now a good time?
Yeah. Do you have
space to hold for this right now?
And usually like, it's important to also say, I need to talk about some stuff that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause then that fear and anxiety comes in where it's like, oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So it's like, this is a totally different part of my life. But do you have space for this right now? And if not, and then like, as the other person, if you don't say, I don't right now, like I'm dealing with whatever with my kid, how about tomorrow at noon or something like that? And I know that sounds a little bit like prescriptive, but it really does help because then you have the space and the person feels heard when you do share.
And there's something about that that's like, it's a good boundary. Like boundaries are healthy and boundaries do feel good. And we need those boundaries in relationships. So then for a fact that you're not burdening the other person because they've just told you. So now you're not worrying about like, oh my God, I just unloaded all of that shit on her. I wonder if she's like, good God, all she does is call me and complain. And like, but that way, for sure, like, oh, I'm not burdening. This is a good time. She said it's a good time. I'm good. And then what you can say back too is so the person asks, do you have space to hold? The other person can ask a next question and say, absolutely, I'm good right now. Do you need advice or do you just need me to listen?
That's the other really important one.
Yeah.
Is to say, what is it that you want from this? Because that person, usually I don't want advice. I just need to talk. And when the person automatically comes back with a solution that is really a problem that doesn't have a solution. It's usually grief, or I don't even know, something that you really can't solve. I feel very like unheard, right? I feel like you're just trying to fix it and get off the phone with me. So, I think that by saying that, it's such an important thing to say, like, so do you want me to help you find a solution to this, or are we just talking? And I say that all the time, like, I'm just venting.
Yeah, she'll even say it without me even having to ask. She'll be like, I don't need advice, I just need to vent. I'm like, awesome. All right, I'm here to listen.
Well, that's good. I told my ex-husband the other day, I said, I need to talk. And so he called, and I was just like, I need to talk about some things. And he was like, what is this about? Is it about me? Is it about this? Is it about that? And I was like, no, but what I appreciated was, he did, hold the space for me at the time. And so today I was just like, thank you for listening. Right. Because we do go through that, where if I'm upset, like, considering what we do, and we're trying to grow a business, we got families, relationships, all this stuff that's going on. I don't know about you guys, but I go up and down at least 10, 15 times a day, where I'm happy, sad, crying, mad. You have all these emotions, right? Because so many things come at you at once. But what I learned is that when people do give you that space, remember that it is their time that they also given you, that they love you enough to give you that space in order for you to vent. So keep in mind that, they too might have something that's going on, but they love you enough to stop that, to listen, right? Because they believe at whatever point that they given you, that they want to hear you, and they want you to be heard, which is very important, I believe. So with that, I was just like, wow, thank you so much for allowing me to to speak, and thank you for allowing me to vent. And he was like, oh, you're welcome. But it really meant something in that moment, because it was something that I needed. Right.
Yeah. And I think that people, when you respond like that and thank them for their time and just for that space, they feel so much more like valued. And it's easier than if you're going to have that conversation again, I don't know, sometime down the road, that they know, like, okay, well, they didn't take it for granted. It wasn't like they're taking advantage of me or something, that they truly appreciated the time that I was giving them, to listen and hold space for them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Time is, in my opinion, time is the most loving gift we can give someone. And so we give more to those that we love more. And so it's a very valuable thing that we can't get back. We spend it very easily. And so, yeah, I think we just need to be more mindful with our time and with other people's time. But we have a comment from Marie. She said that that's a good way to start a conversation. So many times people call me ready to vent and have no idea the kind of day I've been having. Some days I just can't answer. I don't have the room or capacity for it. We feel you, sister.
Yeah.
And you can even just like shoot, if they call you, you can even do the like decline with a text and say, like, you know what? I don't have the capacity to talk about some like these things right now. I have some things going on, but I'd love to catch up with you another time. And just like,
or I will say, if it's someone who I'm very close with, or, I say, is this an emergency? Like, do you need me right now? Is it an emergency, or is this something that you just need to vent about? Because I can definitely talk to you tomorrow about that. But if you have an emergency, I can help you now. But otherwise, like, I've got other stuff going on. I try really hard to keep the space open for emergencies. Mostly probably has something to do with my fear of like something happening to someone, but so
very
I don't
valid
know.
fear, Aim.
So but I try really hard to not ignore, because I want to make sure like there's not a real situation that we need to handle right now. But again, if you can have that open and honest communication, it's so much better, because you just feel so much more love on both sides.
Right. And we were talking yesterday. We had a guy on. We was talking about men and mental health, and even holding the space, like in your relationships, with your spouse and things like that. And how it's so hard sometimes just to get the person to open up, right? And being able to figure out how you do that in an environment where they feel like they're not ready, right?
Mm,
Or they're not ready to be vulnerable, right? And
yeah.
I wanted to get you guys' opinion about that, because I was talking to the guy yesterday, and one of the things that he said is that when you're in a relationship, especially when you are with a man, they are afraid to be vulnerable because they feel like if they do tell you something as a female being close to them, that you're going to use that as a weapon against
Mhm.
them, right? And I was like, why? And I understood it, but I was just like, why? We love you, we're nurturing you, we're telling you we want to be here, we want to be able to communicate, we want to be able to have these things. It is always something in your mind, but we as girlfriends, we do it all the time, where we open, we vulnerable, we get on the phone, we do all of these things. But when it comes to men, it is like you get the total shutdown, right?
Hmm.
So have you guys had the experience with your mate where they are allowed to be vulnerable? And if so, how do you open up that conversation? Because a lot of us want to know. Well, not me. I ain't got nobody here. Killer. Like, killer. How do I start talking to you in dog language?
Oh, I wish we could talk to our dogs. Wouldn't that be amazing? Oh my gosh, I would just sit and talk to my dog all day.
He go in the room, child. Look, he leaving now. So he don't even want to hear it.
Like, I'm done with you right now.
Right.
Mm. Do you want to go first?
So, I mean, sure. So my husband and I have been married for 15 years. We've been together for like 18. And it's only been in the last, I'd say 5 or so, that I feel like our communication has gotten to a really good place. And we still have to work on it. So this isn't something that just like happens. And it sounds like the gentleman you were talking to may have had some bad experiences where he's had someone weaponize
That's what I was
his
thinking.
feelings against him. And that's unfortunate. That's really sad. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that there's a generalized statement to say that like men are afraid that you're going to weaponize that
Well,
against
I was
them.
also thinking that I've felt that way before. So it can be anyone
Yes.
who's had that
Yeah.
experience where someone's taken a vulnerability that you've shared, a
Yeah.
girlfriend even, and thrown that back at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they were saying,
Absolutely.
I think he was saying in general, that's what guys are thinking. Like,
Sure.
if I share with you, Amy, that I was sexually abused as a young child and I'm a male, you might look at me differently. You might think that I'm not man enough now, so I'm not going to tell you, right? Because
That
something
hurts my
happened
heart.
to
Yeah.
me, right? Or if I tell you that I, molested someone, but I changed my life, you probably don't want to be with me. So I would never tell you anything like that, even
Right.
though you're still wondering why uh, 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 I'm angry or I get upset or I'm triggered by certain things. Because if I do tell you, you might use that against me, right?
That's true. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's hard.
Yeah.
So
And and that's the thing.
I go to Brene Brown a lot, so I'm gonna just apologize for it, but I'm not sorry. Um, but she wrote a book called Braving the Wilderness, and I highly recommend it. Amy and I both read it a few years ago as part of a book club, actually, that Amy was doing. But it gives great examples, and it's a great guide on how to have difficult conversations, basically, with people. And there was a quote that I actually pulled up, and it's so perfect for this, because I think that we as humans do this a lot, where we look for the negative response back because that's what we expect. So we look for you to be judging me, and that fear, like he's having, like, I can't be vulnerable because you're gonna use that against me. So there's a quote from the book, and it says, Stop walking through the world looking for confirmation that you don't belong. You will always find it because you've made that your mission. Stop scouring people's faces for evidence that you're not enough. You will always find it because you've made that your goal. True belonging and self-worth are not goods. We don't negotiate their value with the world. The truth about who we are lives in our hearts. Our call to courage is to protect our wild heart against constant evaluation, especially your own. No one belongs here more than you. And I know that that's like, so it's just something we all have to read and reread and read again and put a tattoo on our
Love that.
foreheads about it.
Stop
And like,
scouring people's faces to figure out
Yeah.
if you belong. Is that
Yeah.
what it said?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you're
basically like
looking.
stop scouring people's faces to see like they think I'm not enough. They're
That's
thinking
right.
right now.
wait for the negative response. You're
Yeah.
just like anticipating it.
And my
Right.
therapist says that to me all the time. She's like, if you're constantly looking for people to, or if you're constantly looking for evidence to support your thoughts about yourself, you're going to find it because you're looking for it.
Ooh.
But if you're constantly looking for evidence to support the opposite of that, you're going to find it because you're looking for it. She's like, so
Mhm.
stop looking for the evidence to support these bad things that you're telling yourself, that you're not worthy, that people don't love you, that, you know, you're unlovable. Like, stop looking for evidence for that because you're going to find it.
I think culturally too, men just are not expected to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And when they are vulnerable, it's seen as weakness or a myriad of other things. And to me, that's just like so far from my reality that it's hard for me to even, like, I couldn't be with a man who's not vulnerable.
Mhm, mhm.
Right.
So I mean, to me, it's definitely something that I look for as the very, very positive thing. But I will say that as women, we're more vocal with
Yeah.
how we're doing and what's going on. And I know that, you know, my boyfriend had some problems opening up because I think he thought like my issues were bigger, or my issues were a diagnosed illness, or, you know, my husband died rather than his divorce, or whatever you're going to compare it to. Because I talk a lot more about things. And I think that that's hard for men to, you know, open up when they feel that theirs is not maybe as big. And I say men because that's what we're talking about right now, but I almost
Yeah.
feel like this could be across the board. A lot of times humans don't want to share their feelings or share their frustrations or traumas because they feel like it's not as bad as what you went through.
Mhm.
And so Sarah and I talked about that with a psychologist recently about how to handle that and how to open that door so that you can share with someone, even if you have no idea what they went through. And even if, first of all, no trauma is worse than another trauma. Trauma's trauma.
Right.
You know, you're like, it is what it is. And
Right.
so, you know, the idea that you don't have to either hold back because you think theirs is worse, or you don't have to one up anybody because
Mhm.
we're not in a trauma race here.
Right. Or you're like,
Like,
me too.
Oh yeah. Well,
I-
guess what
uh,
happened to me?
That's right.
mine was so much
Oh,
worse.
I know.
Oh.
I can relate. I had 4 or 5 cars. I had to get up from under. What? It's like, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
guys,
exactly. And so there's so many things, but back to the men situation, I feel like in the relationship that I'm in and in the relationship Sarah's in, like, we just continually have uncomfortable conversations.
no. Mm.
um we don't force it because I don't want anybody to speak until they're comfortable, but like, I open it up and I say, you know, if you're not feeling well, if things are not okay, please tell me, even if I'm in a space that seems worse. Because when you're in a partnership, I mean, at that point, I feel like you should be able to share no matter where you are.
Right.
Like, it's not like I need to be in a good place to hear what you're saying. Like,
Mhm,
because,
mhm.
you know, you're doing life together. So you know, and it might take the woman to lead that, you know, charge.
Right.
Yeah. And I think what's really helpful with my relationship too is that I will validation. So like when he does share something with me, validating that by saying like, that sounds like it's been really frustrating for you. That sounds like it's been very hard for you. I'm so sorry that you're feeling that way. I'm so glad that you trusted me with being able to tell me that. And that's, with any relationship, not just a romantic relationship, friendships, whatever, like letting the person know. And that's, just kind of another path real quick. But Amy and I have made it our mission with one another to, well, not just one another, but everybody we talk to, that when we're thinking something about someone positively, we speak it, because those things just need to be said more often in life.
Absolutely.
And so I think that validation is important for all. We all need it. We all need validation. We all need to know that what we're saying isn't bothering the other person. We all need to know that it's okay to be vulnerable, not just, men, but women too. It's especially if your trust has been faltered in some way, which I would say the majority of people out there have run into some kind of issue that has altered their ability to trust other people. So I think that's where we get into these situations in the first place.
Right. And I wanted to say too, guys, because you guys are moms, right? And I know on our platform, we have a lot of mothers who are out there who, are trying to do their best for their kids, some for their grandkids, to give them that opportunity to hold the space for them. Because, even after this pandemic, a lot of the kids are suffering from depression, even the music, y'all. Like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the music, you're dancing, you're laughing. It is more like this culture where the music is kind of sad and it's airy and eerie. And I'm like, well, what happened to, we going to the party, we about to dress up, we about to do, you know what I'm saying? We got our makeup on. It's not like that anymore, right?
Yeah, so Billie Eilish has got the market on the sadness.
I know. I'm like, what happened?
I love her though.
What happened? But our kids now, I was saying this yesterday. I grew up in the Bronx, in New York. The trauma was normalized. Why? Because somebody can come, they can shoot, we'll all run in the building for a little while, run back out and go back out and play, right? And it was like nothing. It was just like, oh, somebody shot up the place, so we waited and then we were right back outside, right? But it's like when you grow up, you figure out, well, that shit wasn't supposed to happen, right? Like,
right.
Okay.
It's like the first time you tell that story to someone and they're like,
right. And it's like, that's why when I
what?
walk down the street, I'm always watching my back, right? Like, because you're trying to be aware and you trying to figure out where that comes from. So it's like the kids today, with so much depression and everything that is going on, how do you talk to your children? And if if you know someone or kids who are suffering, how does a parent relate to their kids? Because it is difficult, especially if you're on your healing journey and you're trying to figure it out. Right.
It's like you're like in our houses or something,
no,
and like watching us and like, oh, I know what's going on. I'm going to ask the exact pointed question.
It's like, this is like the major thing that's going on right now. And a lot of women are asking, like, my kid is coming home and, they're, I give you guys a prime example. I had a friend of mine who I work with, and he called me and he said, Gloria, do you have some resources that I can use for my son? And I said, well, what's going on with your son? He said he needs help. He needs to be able to get into a program. And I said, yeah, I got some resources. I said, does he want the help? And he said, yes. So I called a friend of mine. We got him on three-way. And he was like, what is your son doing? He's smoking marijuana. Now it went to cocaine. And he's just sitting. It's affecting his work. He's in the house. He is, guys, I think he's like 19 or 20. Right? Dad is a CEO at a company. Mom does, like a lot of work, stay at home mom, best education, everything. So it is not environment, right? At least we don't think so. We don't know. We're not in a household, right?
Right.
And it's like, at this point, what is it that you do as a family? And he said, Gloria, I done tried everything, and I'm trying to be there for my son, right? But he needs to be able to get the help, right? So I'm like, damn, all that time you're working on yourself, your wife is working on yourself, you're working on your family, and then you believe that you're giving your kids the best life. You bust your ass to make sure you give them a good education, good schools, everything. And you're in this situation and you say, how the hell did we get here? Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
He has to want the help first is the number one thing, but support, showing love, trying to
my
steer clear
first
of
thought is
anger.
that it might be mental health, and it might not have anything
and
to
and,
do
and that's
with
what I'm yeah, and that's
environmental.
what I'm saying. It's like, how do you start that conversation with your kids? Or if you see your kids in these type of activities, like, immediately as a parent you're going to run to try to help to get the resources to combat whatever it is that you see, right?
Right.
But how do you start that conversation to figure out the things that you don't see? Because he might be bipolar, he might be suffering from depression, he might, have anxiety, he might have all these things. But the only thing dad knows, and that's what I had to tell dad. The only thing that dad knows is my son is smoking marijuana and moving.
Right.
So he needs to
Right.
go in a program.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
He's only seeing the effects of whatever is
Correct.
happening. And, at this point, again, I'm going to go back to communication and open communication. Sarah and I over talk, I'm sure, with our kids about mental illness and mental health. So it's just a normal thing. Like, you can just say how you feel all the time. And if there's, I'm very open about my own mental illness. And so I think that maybe they haven't grown up in that environment, and that's fine. Just start today and say, there's these possibilities of things that could be happening. Or you could say, like, I feel really sad sometimes as the dad, and this is how it feels. Is that something like you're feeling? Like, trying to relate to them. I don't know. Again, I'm very unqualified. but I go with my gut, right? My gut says that the drugs are not the issue, that there is a mental illness, mental health, something triggered, something happened that had nothing. The thing is, guys, is that sometimes it's chemical. Like, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. The only thing now is to get the help and get the right treatment, and the rest of it will fall into place. But I'm sure that it is easier to say that the drugs are the issue, but I'm wondering, I don't feel like I don't know, Sarah, what do you think?
No, I agree. I feel like the drugs are the result of something.
Yeah.
So it could be that in depression is even a chemical thing, sometimes, like,
right. No, it
it
is.
doesn't. Yeah.
Period.
Sometimes, period.
All the
is
time.
a chemical thing all the time, not just sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm asking is, like, how did we get here with our kids though? Or
you mean, like, as a country, pretty much?
Yeah. Or are we just shining a light on something that has always been there? Because, like I said, for me, I don't know,
It's like
because it
chicken
was
and
so
egg.
normal, right? It was so normal for me. I didn't know until I got married that I had issues, right? Because all my life I thought I was cool. Right?
So I think that we're just shining a light. I was
agree.
diagnosed at 18 when I went to college, for a myriad of reasons. And I think that more people suffer, more people have some sort of chemical imbalance than we ever talked about. And we just chalked it up to, because here's the thing, it's very easy to use drugs and alcohol to balance yourself out.
Correct.
And then we have drug and alcohol problems, right? So our country is very good at those treatment programs. We're not as good at mental health issues yet, because we've only seen the drug and alcohol that was the result of probably a mental health issue somewhere along the lines. So I think we're just shining a light on it. I think it's always been there. And I just think that, it's hard to talk about with, if you've never talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we're just shining a light, because I also think that there's an evolution in the way, I think we're doing a job. I'm not going to say good job. We're doing a job.
We're doing a goodish, decent, sort of okay-ish.
Removing stigma around talking about, your feelings, maybe not mental health, but your feelings. So now that we're being allowed to express ourselves more, and you're seeing that more in the music that's coming out, like you said,
Yes.
Right.
and books and poetry, and kids are now more, if you go on TikTok and like, they're
Yes.
so open and so able to talk about
Yes.
things. So I
Yep.
think what's happening is that for decades, we weren't allowed to talk about anything. So people self-medicated, and drugs and alcohol and everything was part of that self-medication. And so, like you said, then as this reactive response, like we were like, okay, we have to get these treatment programs for people for drugs and alcohol, instead of like going to the root of what's causing that
Mhm.
people to turn to it. But now that we're allowing kids to talk more about their feelings, then it seems like
Mhm.
they're more sad, or they're sadder. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's the case. I think it's just that people are vocalizing it more. And I mean, I talk about this a lot on our podcast. It's like my number one thing that caused me to break was holding everything in, because that's how I was brought up. And I think that's how a lot of us were brought up, that
Mhm.
we don't talk about it. We
Mhm.
feel sorry for ourselves for a minute, and then we brush it off and we move on, because life goes on. We have to keep going. What do you mean? Everything's fine. You have a great life. What do you have to be sad about? Like,
Exactly. It
Right.
could be so
Right.
much
Right. Right.
worse. It could be so
yeah,
much worse.
it could be
Right.
so much worse. Just, stop, just stop. That was another
And
thing. Stop crying.
yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
my daughter says stuff that really, I think she's saying it to me as a compliment, but it hurts my heart when she tells me that. She's like, really, mom? She was like, you're the only one who knows, like who listens, who understands, and asks the questions that my friends wish their parents would ask.
Wow.
And um so sometimes
Wow.
they'll ask me, or they'll talk to me about it, and I don't want to overstep. I'm not calling somebody's parents and being like, your kid is, but so, and I can be annoying. I know I can be annoying to her, but I want her to know,
Our
like,
job.
it's my
Yeah.
job, right? It's
Yeah.
okay to explain, like, to talk through why you're sad or why you're irritated, like understanding irritability, right? As
Mhm.
not anger. You're irritable. Those are different feelings. And so we've
Mhm.
been talking a lot about that, and what could have been triggering you to make you feel this way in this situation. And so it's just about, you have to start the conversation as the adult, as the parent. It's your job to do that, but you have to learn about it first.
Come on now. Because I'm thinking about what you're saying, where you're saying your daughter friends feel comfortable coming to you, is the parents repeating what they already know. And
That's
that
it.
is
That's
just to
all it
be
is.
quiet.
That's all it is. Nobody's
Just to
doing
be
anything
quiet.
wrong. They're doing the best that they know how with what they have. I just happen to have been set in this strange life that is full of mental illness, like where I had to deal with it and recover and keep going. And now we have this amazing podcast, and we're writing books, and we're doing all these things. So that's just my life, right?
Right,
But
right, right.
and my goal is to help parents do what Sarah and I are doing. How help them. I'll show you any podcast. You don't have to listen to my podcast. I'll point you in any direction. I'll send you to any book. It doesn't have to be my book, but you have to learn the right language. You have to learn, you have to understand it before you talk about it, and you have to know what questions to ask and how to ask them.
Mhm.
And I
So
think that brings us to another thing that we were just talking about with the psychologist we had on, that'll on the next episode. And she said she'll even say to her clients, I'm gonna mess up. And
Yeah.
we both were like, oh my gosh, we love
yes,
that, because I'm gonna say that to my kids and use that with my kids. Like, I want to talk to you about this. I'm gonna mess it up. I'm a
Yeah.
human being. I'm going to do the best I can. If I hurt your feelings, I want you to feel okay telling me that.
Mhm.
And, I have been trying to say that to my kids, and they've told me before, like, that really hurts my feelings, mom. Or I don't like it when you do this. It makes me feel sad. And so then taking that information and applying it going forward is super important too. And then when I do mess up and do what I said that I wouldn't do, apologizing and owning it. That's another thing too. Like, I don't think my parents ever apologized to me ever.
absolutely.
And so,
No,
yeah.
Absolutely.
it was their way or the highway,
Yeah. Yeah.
like they're always right, right?
Yeah.
But
So I
Yeah.
you know
think,
how, like, you snap on your kids
Yeah,
because
I do it all the
and
time.
it has absolutely nothing to do with them. It has to do with something you're frustrated about elsewhere. Going back and apologizing for that is so damn important. That was not you. Mom should have not done that. That is not the right way to handle my stress, but it happens. And I do it sometimes, and I'm sorry. And that's that whole idea of like being vulnerable both directions.
I have another question. I know we're running out of time, but this is one of the biggest things that, the people and the parents on our platform always ask is, how do I go ahead and tell my kids what happened to me? It, is it is it a way to do that? Because my kids look at me like I'm their superhero, right? If it's a man, or the ladies like, well, my kids doesn't know. And what I tell them is, but when you snap, when you're yelling, when you're angry, when you're all of this stuff, they think it's them.
Yep.
They think it's because you don't like them.
Yep.
Right? So in you guys' opinion, how do they sit and start to tell their kids, okay, the reason why I feel this way is because I was sexually abused, this happened to me, or, I'm suffering from this, because they're afraid that if they do tell the kids, they won't be looked at in the same light, right? And then it becomes a burden on their kids, where it's like, now the kids feel like they have to be extra cautious because my mom is, or, I have to be there for her because my mom suffers from, right? And so the parents don't say anything because it's like, I don't want to burden my kids with that. I want them to have a good life. I want them to remember me and know me for who I am now. Well, you a bitch right now. That's what they are saying. Okay.
Yeah.
They want to know why every time Uncle Larry come over, you having a fit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
there's so much to say about that.
So important to share. I have to say that was probably one of the biggest turning points in my relationship with my son, is when I started to share with him that I'm not perfect. And, he actually said that. He's like, but you're perfect and daddy's perfect. I'm like, oh, honey.
Glad you said that, but
I was like, sit down, let's have a talk.
Yeah.
And, but the way I started that conversation was when he was in trouble for something. And so I was reprimanding him. And so then he kind of started to like, I said, bud, you can't beat yourself up over it. You're a human being. We're all learning how to be human beings. All of us. You are, I am, daddy is. We're all learning. And so that's when he's like, nuh-uh, you already know how to do it. I was like, oh, no, I don't. I do not. So I was able to take that opportunity to say to him, like, and I've also had other opportunities too. I suffer from depression as well, generalized anxiety, CPTSD. So just lots of letters and things, diagnoses out the window. But so I did spend some time in the hospital, about 6 days. And so when I came home, my kids were like, where the hell were you? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I actually took that time, to say, mommy suffers from depression. And I explained to them what depression was, and it's a sadness, and it can make me feel things about myself that aren't true. And so what that did, though, opening up to them about it, allowed them to, when they feel sad, they're safe with mom to tell mom, I feel sad, because mom feels sad too sometimes. When I feel frustrated or angry, it's safe to talk to my mom about that, because she feels like that too sometimes. And so it's like, when they do something like, so if my son explodes and loses his temper, then, and he gets all like bent out of shape and everything, like, I'm learning now to not explode and lose my temper too and yell and whatever. Let him have his moment and get to a calm space, because they can't that's like just something that I feel like I need to say, because it was something I had to learn. They can't hear you when they're in that spot. Let them calm down first. When they get to a calm space and you can have a conversation with them, that's when you can open up and share and just feel confident being vulnerable with your kids, because those kids love you unconditionally right now. I say
Mhm.
right now because God knows what happens when they become adults.
Right.
Right now, like, you are their everything, and showing them that you're a human being allows them to relate to you more. It allows them to respect you more. It allows them to trust you more. And then you don't have to guess at what's going on in their lives because they can come to you and feel comfortable coming to you. That's such a huge blessing. Watching that
So
transformation with my son has been like, he has struggled a lot. I mean, just he struggles with depression and OCD, and he gets bullied badly at school.
Mhm.
And so also sharing my experiences with that to say, like, listen, as much as it really sucks to say this, unfortunately, bullying is a part of growing up. Do I agree with it and think it's okay? Absolutely not. But I will tell you, I experienced it too. Daddy experienced it too. Here's what happened. And then there's that shared experience and that connection. And connection is what we need so much from one another, and especially with our children. I mean, I don't know, Amy, if you.
I was going to go into the questions.
Oh, okay.
So, and I relate to these. Well, what Sarah said, I agree with 100%. And I do that with my own kids, but these things do happen to me too. This, just because it happened to you doesn't mean I'm going to go through it. I told Sarah recently about this, and this was a situation with my job.
You said, "Ho, do you respond? Who you calling a hoe, girl?"
I
We
read
get
over
it,
that
though.
as how. She means how.
We get it though.
We
But
got you,
like, and
Felicia, don't worry.
so here's the thing is that when that happened with me and my daughter, who we have a very good relationship, and my feelings were so fucking hurt, I was like, well, fine, then I am not telling you anything else, and it was about something I'm going through at work. And she was like, well, just because it happened to you, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to ever let people treat me that way, or something like that. Okay. But then it's like, sure, they say that, but you're still building this like rapport with them of like, I'm being vulnerable with you. And so when some shit, I said, I hope that doesn't happen. I
Yeah,
hope.
And
I
Abe, like,
hope.
that's why you're telling her that, so it doesn't
Like,
happen to her.
I
Like,
hope
you need to know my story so you don't
that
repeat it. We're
I
breaking the
hope that
cycle.
yours, yes, I hope your story is different than mine. I really want that for you. I really do. But it doesn't, and that's me also making it a way for your kids to understand that other people's stories are important. Like, listen, it's important to listen to other people's stories. And it's hard. I mean, teenagers are so selfish, even the best ones. So I lost the other question. Oh, because she's laughing at her hoe.
I
Where's
think
the
Khadijah says sometimes the kid will use it as a weapon against, from my personal experience, so it makes me not want to share certain things with them.
yes. Yes. And so well, I mean, I haven't had that happen yet, but I'm sure it will. Probably like when I can have her, she smokes weed for the first time or something like that. She'll be like, "Well,
Right.
you did it.
Right.
You do it." I don't know. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, probably that'll happen. I guess I lean upon the side of over communicate and be over vulnerable, because the other side is just repeating what we went through, right? This whole like, my parents are up here and I'm down here, and it's not like that. Yes, you need to respect me,
Yeah.
absolutely, but we have to open it up and bring it. This generation is not going to take that kind of shit. I'll tell you that right now. There's
Mhm.
no like, hierarchy like that anymore. So you have to kind of like, I'm not saying we have to earn their respect, but I'm saying that like, you have to be vulnerable. You have to show who you really are for them to be able to feel comfortable to come to you. Again, it doesn't mean my kid doesn't say hurtful things to me, because she does.
Mhm.
And my son, I mean, he's only 5, but he tells me all the time, it is time for you to move out. I am done with you. And all I've done is say, like, put your iPad away. It's time for bed. I'm getting a new mom, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it's just like, whatever. Kids can be such assholes. But the thing we were talking about earlier, though, that's a much different level of like, so let's say that you were sexually abused or sexually assaulted, and that does bring things up. I think you can always do it at a level that works for their age range, right? So making it age appropriate. And then I guess I would also think like teaching them good boundaries, like Uncle, I don't know what you said, Joe, whoever,
Yeah.
you F that, we're not going anywhere Uncle Joe is. Like,
Right.
no, done. Like, and teaching your kids, like, no, we don't put ourselves in those situations. Like, that's it, done. Um, and so like, I don't think you need to tell them the whole thing now. There's so many things that my kids don't know because it's not age appropriate at this point in time. But I can say that I have, anxiety or a trigger or trauma or I don't know, something bad. I don't know, something that makes me feel angry when this happens. And so it's something, and without giving in too much detail, depending upon how old they are. I don't know. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I was actually going to say the age appropriate thing. So,
Yeah.
and also it's like when my kid uses something against me, because it happens, because they're kids and they're just like, well, now I know this thing about you. So
They're just so selfish. I mean, that's just what kids do.
Right. And it's sort of a kid thing, but just, I just have to say, like, I shared something with you and I trusted you with that. And I would trust that you're not going to put that back at me to make me feel bad about myself with it again. Right. And if I can't trust you to do that, I'm not going to share more things with you. And just, kind of, and I mean, age, of course, but I think every age can kind of understand trust.
Yeah. And letting them know that Sarah actually encouraged me to do this. And I went back and did it, letting them know that your feelings are hurt. I'm like, just as much as I'm human to mess up, I'm human that you kind of just hurt my feelings. Like I love you. And I like that hurts when you speak to me that way, when you talk to me and talk about me that way, in hopes then that she'll turn around and not talk to her friends that way or something like that, or a teacher or whatever. But it's just like saying that you're hurt and instead of screaming at them,
right,
like, I'm in charge, don't ever talk to me like that. Like, not saying I don't ever do that, but it's not probably the best thing to do.
Right.
No.
Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap up, ladies. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I believe that with you guys' experience, especially being mothers and relationships and all the things that you guys are going through, it will really this will really be a good open forum so that our women can get the tools that they need, because you will be surprised of how many people are out here and just don't know what to do, even though the knowledge is there and there's so much information, right?
There's so much. That's the problem.
I was about to say that's the problem. There's so much, you don't know who to believe or what to do or how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I am so glad that you guys have decided to do this with us, and I thank each and every one of you who came on, who stuck with us, who asked questions. Felicia, thank you. Khadijah, thank you. Marie, thank you. Thank you to everyone. And I can't wait to
keep the questions coming.
Yeah, please go ahead. We're gonna do this on Wednesday. So if you guys have any questions or anything, we would love to go ahead and answer. Just don't ask me any relationship questions. Anything else I can help you with. I can't tell you what to do with your man or anything like that. I don't have one. Mine ain't work.
I just want to say though, also everything is trial and error. So if it works, great. If it doesn't, try something else. Till you find something that works, just don't give up.
Absolutely. All right, ladies. Well,
thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, that's it.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.